Hi, my name is Abigail Scott, and welcome to my Outstanding Scholars Research Reflection. I'm very excited to talk about this today because I know a lot of people aren't actually in my program, and I want to kind of give you my unique journey in the Outstanding Scholars program. So let's go into a little bit about me. So who am I? Well, my name is Abigail Scott, but most people do call me Abby, and I'm going into my fourth year of the Sport Management and Leadership degree with a minor in Communication, Media, and Film. And just as a fun fact, I'm also a member of the women's varsity volleyball team. So just as a little bit background, if you're ever worried about time management in the OS program, not to worry because you can still do it as a varsity athlete. Therefore, it also um, rolls over if you have a job. So it's basically my job, and I just want to say that time management is a lot easier in the OS program than you may think, and I highly suggest doing it if you're worried. But anyways, kind of going into the start of my journey with Outstanding Scholars. So it's very unique, I would say, compared to a lot of people that I've talked to in the program, as I didn't even know Outstanding Scholars was a program until my second year, or going into my second year. I was never a candidate in my first year, so not to worry if you're watching this and you've never done anything in the first year going into second year, not to worry because everything works out for a reason. So how did this journey kind of come about? Well, I worked hard in school. Outstanding scholars, obviously in the name, you try hard in everything that you do. You are a great student. So I worked hard in school, and I actually had a really good first semester for being in university for the first time. And I had a professor reach out to me at the end of my first semester and say, "Hey, congratulations for doing so well in my class. I would like to see if you ever want to work on any research projects with me. Please let me know, and I'd love to have you." So instantly I was like, "Yes, I'd love to." And that's when I started to build support network. So I helped them out with data input, was able to get paid right in my second semester, helping him out with different things. And then when it came to May and the email came out with the acceptance for outstanding scholars program, if you'd like to be in it, the application, I was like, I don't know what this is. So I asked my professor who I'd been working with, Dr. Dixon, about the program, what he thought about it, and all he had to say was good things. So I was like, wow, this sounds awesome. And so I talked to my coach too, because I was worried as an athlete if I was going to have time. And he was like, I've had outstanding scholar students before, and I think it's a great opportunity. So I applied to the program, and that's kind of where my start goes. So my projects are a little different, as I didn't have necessarily a lab that I went to every day, but I still got to perform really cool research. So my first kind of research area was looking at alumni advisory boards in sport management programs, and kind of looking at what their benefits are, even if there even is benefits, and how could we apply that to the real world. So we found that there was a gap in the research between academia and actually applying alumni advisory boards within the program. So it is completed, well, for the most part, completed now, the research. And we found that there was limited research supporting the need for boards in sport management programs, yet any of the ones we did find said they were very helpful. So that's kind of what led to our research. So I completed a rapid review, which I'd never done before. It's like a literature review, but a lot faster, and I got to work with different applications like Zotero, and our results found that it bridges the gap, facilitates networking opportunities, and we found how to implement boards. And I'll get into kind of where that led me in a bit. But I just want to talk about my second area of research that I started in my third year of the OS program that's continuing into my fourth year, which is relative age effects and mitigating developmental inequities in youth ice hockey. So this is still ongoing. I've completed a few parts of this research, and it's going pretty well, but we're also trying to keep expanding and seeing what we can replicate in terms of studies. So, just a little background: relative age effects influence athletic development, resulting in unequal opportunities. So, think of if you were born in January versus you're born in December, some people have a little bit more time to develop, and we want to see if that actually affects things within youth ice hockey specifically. So, I completed a literature review, a NOVA T test, did lots of statistical reviews, correlation coefficients. I got to work with a lot of different statistical data, which I was worried about as in sport management. We don't do a ton of this, but it ended up building a lot of skills that I didn't know that I could actually have the opportunity in the sport management program, which was really cool. And we looked at a whole bunch of different ways of how we could mitigate these inequities, and we wanted to test a few. So we looked at objective performance measures, age-ordered shirt numbering, and we wanted to see how this contributes to evidence-based practices in sport management. So kind of what did my second year look like? Just kind of backtracking here. So we looked at the alumni advisory boards, and as I said, this is completed research now, but I had made a poster, if you can see in the photos on the right. I've made a poster to present at at the NASM conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I got to go and experience this conference with a couple of my professors, and I was able to network. The photo above, I was at the tour of a Viking stadium, the NFL team, and I got to meet a whole bunch of other grad students and PhD students, all that stuff. I was actually the youngest person there, which was a little scary, but also kind of cool. And I also got to present at UWill and then as well as Kin Research Day. So my second year, that's what we did. And we actually got to I got to be first author of a publication in a book that actually came out or is coming out in September 2025. So looking into my third year, this is where I kind of stepped it up from the posters and I started actually getting to present, which was a little scary. But I got another chance to go to the North American Society for Sport Management Conference, which is the NASM conference, which happened to be in San Diego, California. So this was a really cool opportunity. I got to go. I went with one other student from University of Windsor, and we got to experience San Diego together. And really got to practice my presentation skills. As you see, I had a 15-minute presentation with 5-minute questions after, which was a very cool experience, very nerve-wracking, but overall very helpful in the development of myself professionally and just in research. So also I got to present at UWill, and I also did a poster at Kin Research Day. But this kind of leads me into my Outstanding Scholars network of opportunities. I have had many opportunities within the Outstanding Scholars program that I'm so, so grateful for. I've got to meet tons of people like Dr. Dixon, but also a couple others like Dr. Miller, Dr. Eddy, Dr. Horton, Dr. Smith, and they are all in the HK world with me. And then outside of that, I've met tons of different professors from different universities who are all like, oh, where are you going to do your master's if you're going to do it? So it's actually been a really cool experience working with Dr. Brunette and other OS members and just many other people within the undergrad world and grad world, which was a bit different from the lab. I didn't get to work with anyone necessarily, but I also got to meet tons of people from the different conferences. So looking at the conferences, as I said, UWill, HK Research Day, and the NASM conference, and it's just been a opportunity of a lifetime to get to travel to those new places. I've never been to Minneapolis or San Diego before, so that was kind of cool. And looking at kind of my personal growth, I think my confidence in leadership has skyrocketed. My confidence in presenting has been a lot better, and actually, like, knowing what to say, how to present, things like that has just led me to being more confident in any of my presentations in school, which has been good. Publications, I'm a first author on a publication, which has been really cool. I get to say I'm in a book, and everyone's like, that's so cool. And some like, there's many opportunities that you can do when you're in the Outstanding Scholars program. And we're even looking to publish some of the research I did in my third year and fourth year. Just a little bit of the skills I've developed, critical thinking and analysis, and data collection, everything like that. I've never got to do before, but now I get to do now. And I think that's a very useful skill, especially in the Outstanding Scholars program and learning how to do research. And if I ever want to continue into my studies. So, kind of looking at the places I've been, like I said, HK building online meetings, and then Minneapolis and San Diego, with a possibility of Puerto Rico in 2026, which is fun. All right, so a little bit about the experimental learning experience. So this is Kolb's learning cycle right here, and it's about feeling, observing, thinking, and doing. So I'm just gonna picture you this, the youngest voice in the room. So I'm just gonna walk you through one of my stories But I remember walking to the room at NASM for my first time ever there, researchers with PhDs, polished presentations, and decades of experience just all around me. And that was me. I was an undergrad student, not knowing what to do. I was the youngest person at the conference. My heart was pounding whenever I did anything, and I questioned, do I even belong here? Am I even supposed to be here being the youngest? And as the days kind of went on, I observed how the presenters explained their work, not just with confidence, but with curiosity. And they asked questions, they challenged each other respectfully, obviously, but made space for new voices. And I realized that they weren't expecting perfection, they were looking for engagement and fresh thinking. So, thinking about this, I understood something important. Being the youngest in this room didn't mean I have less to offer. It meant I had a unique perspective to give. My research, shaped by the Outstanding Scholars Program, wasn't just about the data. It was about growing the confidence to share my ideas and contribute to kind of a bigger conversation. So when it was my turn to present, I would stop trying to sound like everybody else. I leaned into what made my work different. I spoke honestly about the process and what I learned and the questions I was still exploring. And to my surprise, people were listening. They asked questions, they took my ideas seriously, and some even followed up afterwards. So that experience kind of changed how I approach my work now, with more courage, curiosity, and self trust. So it didn't just teach me about research and presenting, it taught me about myself, and reminded me that programs like the OS program aren't just about academic excellence, but they're creating space for students to discover their voice in a way. So, what's next for me and through the Outstanding Scholars Program? Well, I have my fourth year coming up. I'm going to be completing the relative age effect research with Dr. Dixon and some of the other doctors in the program. I'm completing my undergrad thesis in my fourth year, kind of exploring a different area of that relative age research, which I'm very excited about. And this has led me to wanting to do my master's thesis. So that's kind of the next steps. And I don't know, maybe PhD, maybe not. But the Outstanding Scholars Program has taught me that I really do like researching and kind of giving all that opportunity. But I just want to say, other opportunities. Just putting these out there for anyone watching that might be in the movement science side or in sport management, but want to do something in an actual lab where you can work with many different undergrads, grad students, many different professors, something that I haven't actually got a chance to partake in. But what I've heard, you have the CHPH, the PACER lab, which looks at cardiovascular research, APEX, which is an advanced physical education program. You have the CHEW lab, which is the Community Health Environment and Wellness lab, and the Spark Lab at the University of Windsor, which looks at sports psychology. So there's lots of opportunities within the HK program that you might not get something individualized like my journey, but you may be able to work with one of these. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my unique journey through the Outstanding Scholars Program.